Tesla is celebrating a big milestone. Tesla's Fremont factory has just produced its 3 millionth car. And this actually looks good and will positively impact calculations because Tesla doesn't publish how many vehicles it produces in the US, but once you know this number, you can sort of know exactly roughly how many Tesla has produced. And Troy says it positively impacts his estimates. So it's definitely good news. And Tesla reached 2 millionth vehicle in that factory in 2022, July. And just 2 months ago, Tesla reached 6 millionth car produced worldwide. So about half of Tesla's production to date happened in Fremont, California. You know, the state that makes manufacturing almost impossible. And yet Tesla is doing it there. It's not like the CEO of Tesla has done the impossible multiple times and therefore he has no chance of doing the impossible again. I mean, robotaxis are definitely never gonna happen. FSD, oh, just forget about it. I mean, seriously, it's 2024, May 18th, and many people still don't think that Tesla is going to solve FSD. Tesla is going to send an improvement of FSD, which will improve interventions per mile 5 to 10 times according to Elon Musk. Say it's only half of that and late, so let's assume it happens in a month or 2 months. That's still widely impressive and progress is accelerating. I was once watching this billionaire who made his money in the 80s and 90s, and people kept telling him, but you lived through this era where computers started to become popular. So it's over for us. I mean, we don't have that same opportunity. And then he pointed out that millions of people were alive during that same period of time who didn't make billions of dollars, who didn't even try. If you have a Tesla, you know how fast FSD has been making progress. There's still a lot of things to improve, yes, but it's coming and it's happening in front of our eyes. There are people that invest in things that are obviously going to happen, and then there are people that watch things happen, and then there are those that wonder what happened. Don't be in the third category, please. And then there's the fourth category, those who reject the thing that already happened. I'm not gonna point any fingers because I'm just gonna point my head. He said FSD V12 has not gotten better. I mean, there are literally people that believe it, which is not surprising because Gordon Johnson has been really open about his FSD experience, personal experience, which is non-existent. He admits that he hasn't tried it and that he doesn't want to try it ever. So don't reject the reality, embrace it instead. Speaking of reality, this is a bit absurd. Only 21.6% of the people watching this channel are subscribed. What are you guys doing? Subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you subscribed already, you're awesome. And I know some of you like every single video. I really appreciate that. Tesla has lowered the monthly lease rate for the Model 3 long range in the US by 9.1% to $400 a month from $439 with a down payment of $3,000. The Model Y I think is still the best value though. You can get a long range Model Y for $400 a month if you lease it. But if you want to save more money and get a newer vehicle with better soundproofing and a better suspension, if you don't mind rear-wheel drive, slightly shorter range, the Model 3 is the way to go. But I think for most people, the Model Y is still a better deal. And the Model Y has stocks. Unless FSD continues really fast progress, I think Tesla will have to add the stocks back. I don't mind the shifting on the screen, but the turning signals, Although if they put steer-by-wire, then the turning signals on the steering wheel would be just fine. To sum it up, Tesla is now offering insane financing deals in Germany, Sweden, China, and the US for the Model Y. And of course, Canada does not have it. Anyway, Tesla is still awaiting for EPA approval to start Model 3 performance deliveries. I think we will have deliveries this quarter, but if you place an order today, Tesla is telling you that you will get your vehicle in July. The Tesla chair Robin Denholm says reports in the Wall Street Journal that Elon Musk had taken LSD, cocaine, ecstasy, and psychedelic mushrooms at parties and that Tesla board members were concerned were absolute BS. I have been around this company for 10 years and I have never seen any any evidence. But think about it. Even if he was doing those things, Farzad says, my advice to him would be to keep doing them. She says, I might wake up to a tweet, but I don't wake up to a strategy shift. If I had a magic wand, Twitter wouldn't exist. Okay, well, she's honest with that statement there. And Elon caused problems for Tesla's directors too. Elon wrote on X in January that Tesla would move immediately to hold a vote on reincorporating in Texas following a Delaware court's ruling that he would lose his compensation package, basically, which put Tesla's board in a really tricky position. It had to follow proper process by forming an independent committee to analyze a potential move. While they ultimately came to the same conclusion, the preemptive tweet made it harder to rebut the court's judgment that they were supine servants of an overweening master. Do we have tough conversations about tweets? Absolutely, Denholm told the Financial Times, but she said he's a contrarian and you can't be a contrarian part of the time, so you've got to work with that as a board. I might wake up in the morning and read a tweet that I wasn't expecting. I don't wake up to a strategy shift that we haven't talked about. She dismisses the notion that her role requires her to babysit Musk, saying his behavior is outside of her remit. To me, the role of the chair is really to make sure the board has a good relationship with the CEO and the executive team, she said. We're there on behalf of shareholders to make sure that management is doing their job, and their job is primarily to grow shareholder value over time. She's right. I don't think Elon Musk needs to be babysitted. If we can just have Elon pay more attention to Tesla. If the board can do that successfully somehow, that would be very much appreciated. The company's entire board has been mobilized. They have spent the past 2 weeks alongside Denholm lobbying investors in New York and California about Tesla's plans for the future. The only person who was exempt from this is Elon Musk's brother, Kimball. Denholm strongly rejects any suggestion that the directors do not function correctly. The board is so diligent and is so effective as a board in terms of making sure that the management team are doing their job, she said. Everybody spends an inordinate amount of time and energy, not just working with Elon, because obviously we do that, said Denholm, but also working with the rest of the management team. Robin also responded to this accusation from the judge about her being lackadaisical in her oversight obligations. She says, that is crap. I had to look up that word. I thought that was the only one. I had to look that up too. I will tell you, anybody who knows me knows that I am not like lackadaisical. Now that I know what that word means, I'm still having issues saying that word. It is probably the furthest from the truth. I am really intense and very diligent in what I do. Lackadaisical, lacking enthusiasm and determination, carelessly lazy. That's definitely the opposite of me. Robin earned $280 million from sales of stock options, Tesla stock options. She dismissed criticism of her stock awards with the same argument she uses to justify Musk's pay package. Her shares have gone up in step with the company, which is good for everyone. And this is an interesting argument. If I didn't agree with something that was going on at the company, I could walk away tomorrow. Well, you have that much wealth, she definitely can. The fact that you have sold shares makes you more financially independent, but also less reliant on the company doing well. I guess if all of your wealth or most of your wealth is in one company, then you become a bit worried, maybe a bit too conservative. So I think there needs to be a balance of having skin in the game, but not having all of your skin in the game, unless you're someone like Elon Musk, who doesn't mind going all in. Robin was also disparaging of the judge's claims that she is too close to Musk, rejecting this too as absolute BS. And then layoffs. For Robin, Musk's blunt moves stem from a desire to treat staff as humanely as possible. When we have made that call, he rips off the band-aid. You want to get rid of the uncertainty for employees quickly, she said. Could we have done a better job of talking to these people through that or communicating with them a bit better? Absolutely, but that's not all on him. I think uncertainty still remains. It seems like people are still being let go here and there. But that's also largely because Elon wants to cut people, and then there were some executives that refused to cut as much as Elon wanted, and that's one reason why layoffs have been happening for an extended period of time instead of just one big bang and done. If you decide not to vote, if you're able to vote, because it takes too much effort to press a few buttons, open your mail, maybe logging into one of your accounts, what you are actually doing, and think about this carefully, you're voting against Elon's compensation package because it could be really close. And for Tesla to move its incorporation location from Delaware to Texas, at least 50% of all of these shareholders have to vote. So if you are not voting, you are voting against Tesla board recommendations. To some degree, James has a point here. Tesla's board is toothless and has no power or authority whatsoever because Elon has them by the cherries and they are forced to accept everything Elon does. Maybe not everything, but to a large extent, I think James is not really too wrong here. But would I want Elon to have less control of Tesla or more control? I think more control. I would prefer that. Look at this defense of Elon's social media behavior. It's okay to do this bad thing because at least it's not this other bad thing. James thinks that Elon has too much power and that's why the board cannot do anything. But the reason why he was able to accumulate that is because he performed well. And if someone does really well, wouldn't we want that person to keep doing well? I don't think you want to take away power from someone that has proved to do well over a long period of time. Unless we want Tesla to become just a regular company with an executive that doesn't really try to innovate all that much, who's steady, but you know, how much growth would there be in the long term? Do we want that? Some people want that. That's not what I want. If I wanted that, I would invest in index funds instead. Now, I do understand this position though, voting against certain directors. I'm voting based on board's recommendations, but I can at least understand why someone may not want to have a family member on the board. I personally think having Kimball on the board lets the board understand Elon Musk better because Kimball can mediate between Elon and the board. If you're voting against Elon's compensation package, just think about this. This is New York Times from 2018. This is the company's latest publicity stunt. They literally called it that. Musk has created the illusion of success while consistently missing production estimates, and today replaced that with FSD. Oh, well, it definitely is never going to work because he said before that it was about to work, but it didn't, even though it made a lot of progress. That proves that it is never going to work. It doesn't matter that my Tesla vehicle can often drive me with no interventions when I go on relatively not difficult, but not easy drives in the city. I don't even know how many 10-15 minute no intervention drives I've had. I've had quite a few now. And Elon is upset here. Just a publicity stunt. There's no way he can 10x the company. Okay, he did it somehow. But of course, it's not because of him. He doesn't deserve any credit. Yeah, Elon is not a fan of that. Elon actually reposted this to his main timeline and he took another sigh. Steven has some strong words here. The Tesla board said Musk must do the impossible. If he does the impossible, he will be compensated, and Tesla shareholders said, deal, let's do it. The result is impossible is now done, compensation earned. But years later, an activist, thief, posing as a judge, says, not so fast. We spit in the face of shareholders' democracy and fairness. And this sort of tells us where Tesla is right now. For a successful startup, it goes, number one, that's impossible. We are past that with EVs, but with FSD, we are sort of between 1 and number 2, possible but unlikely. Number 3, obvious in hindsight. Number 4, it was obvious at the time. Number 5, you are a monopoly at the market you created. We must control you. And with FSD, we are moving towards number 4 from, let's call it 1.5. When we hear about the first licensing deal, we will probably be at number 3. If Elon didn't remain as CEO during the Model 3 ramp, I don't think Tesla would have survived really. And this is written in 2018. For the last several years, there has been speculation about Elon Musk's future at Tesla and whether he would step down as chief executive in the next year or two. In 2014, he said, I'll have to see, how things are going at that point, adding, I will certainly be the CEO for the next 4 or 5 years and is to be determined after that. So he was thinking about stepping away in 2018 or 2019. I became an investor in early 2019, and if Elon wasn't here, do you think we would have had this gain? Sawyer has some good news. If you are in favor of Tesla's board's recommendations, historically, retail shareholder participation in these annual shareholder meetings is quite low, but I get the sense that won't be the case this time. In all my years as a Tesla shareholder, I've never seen the retail base this involved. However, there are some 5 million Tesla shareholders, and Sawyer only has roughly 700,000 followers. So compared to that 5 million, it's not that many, even though 700,000, wow, that's a big number. It's a bit like Sawyer doing a poll about FSD take rates after someone's subscription expires, and we see, oh, it's a large number, but then we will get the actual number and it will probably be much lower. So while this is good, there's a steep hill for us to climb. All of us need to vote. And some brokerages and institutions holding shares, especially those outside the US, make it way too difficult for individual stockholders to vote their shares. In some cases, people can't even vote at all. Fortunately, voting is relatively easy with most US brokerages, so if you live in the US, vote, because we have to make up for all the people outside of North America. People are asking, why did Elon and Kimball are recusing themselves from the Texas redomestication matter vote? And this is because the special committee recommends that Mr. Musk and Kimball must be recused from the board's deliberations and vote on this matter, because Mr. Musk, prior to this, posted on X about reincorporation. And obviously, moving to Texas benefits Elon Musk. So the special committee wants the voting to be done by people that are not associated with Elon Musk, basically, to ensure no conflict of interest. Look at what's going on with Ford. Ford is asking suppliers to help with its quest toward profitability in its electric vehicle efforts, as its survival depends on cost cutting. Ford has spent billions and will spend many more billions attempting to compete with industry giants like Tesla, and in Q1 it recorded, a small loss of just $1.3 billion for its EV and software division known as Model E. Ford still lost $100,000 for every vehicle it sold in Q1. A second significant wave of shoppers ready to consider buying an electric vehicle is poised to begin entering the market in the second half of the decade, according to the latest findings from the 2024 Path to EV Adoption Study by Cox Automotive. In the 2026 to 2028 timeframe, research suggests that 79% of vehicle shoppers, both new and used, will be considering an electric vehicle. By 2023, 90% of all vehicle shoppers will have electric vehicles on their lists. Now, do you think that these people will consider but not buy, or do you think that some of these people will look at the prices, look at faster charging speeds and bigger ranges and just better value for money by these years and still not buy an EV? How fast do you think you will be able to charge an EV battery in 2023? The answer to that question is fast enough. So yeah, these people, after considering, they will be buying EVs. This is from China Daily. No matter how much tariff that the US imposes, Chinese battery makers still have an obvious cost advantage there. In other words, the tariff will now weaken competitiveness of Chinese batteries in the US market in the short term. Maybe in the short term, not in the long term. Definitely, that's not true in the long term. They will have to make these batteries over here. I mean, if Chinese want to build factories in the US, I think that's no problem, but they have to be in the US. And the people hired here have to be American, just like when Tesla built the Giga Shanghai factory, and then basically the workforce is all Chinese only. 99% of the workforce is Chinese. Stellantis CEO predicted there would be only 5 car makers left in 10 years, of which Tesla was hinted at as a big US electric vehicle maker. We can be a lot more direct here. Tesla will be the biggest US electric vehicle maker. Well, it already is. Gary Black answered what it would take for him to increase his position in Tesla stock. Currently, Tesla's stock is 2.8% of his long portfolio. And because it's not his biggest position anymore, I think that's why he's not posting as much about Tesla on X. He says, I would have to be convinced Tesla EPS estimates would stop declining and start growing again. It's where I've been wrong on Tesla the past 2 years, in my honest opinion. To reverse the Tesla EPS decline, Tesla needs to, number 1, stop the insane price cutting. Number 2, launch the $25,000 to $30,000 vehicle to expand the total addressable market. And number 3, launch an ad campaign to grow EV adoption to turn around declining volume narrative. Nothing about FSD. But we know that the limiting factor for FSD progress is validation now, which means Tesla acquiring more intervention data. That is extremely important and valuable. And price cuts generally help sell more vehicles. And some will say, well, Tesla didn't grow its volumes, although Tesla did cut prices, so therefore price cuts did not work. But then I would ask, how many vehicles would have Tesla sold if Tesla didn't cut prices? Do you think it really would have been the exact same number? I don't think so. And remember that Tesla has extremely high loyalty rates. When you buy a Tesla, the next vehicle that you buy is generally another Tesla. Tesla's loyalty rate is the best in the industry by far. And so Tesla is in a process of accumulating its long-term market share with the price-cutting strategy. Now, would an ad campaign really work if Tesla and Elon really focused on advertising? I think so. But would making fast progress on FSD be more important in the long term? I definitely think so. Gary provides us a great perspective of how Wall Street thinks, and obviously, Wall Street doesn't think much of FSD. Otherwise, Gary would mention FSD at least once here, at least somewhat indirectly. He didn't even mention it indirectly here. Our crack team of reporters will be closely monitoring the interwebs for any sign of FSD v12.4 this weekend, assuming it goes out to employees as planned this weekend. It should be on track for release to the first customers within a week or two, ideally this coming week. That would be amazing. But you know what would be even more amazing? Well, maybe not quite as amazing, but it's pretty close. You clicking the like button. Thank you so much to everyone who does that. That's it for today's video. Make sure to click the like button so that we can make sure that there's no shadow ban on this channel. There's another video from my other channel showing that it's only getting about half of the views it would normally get because my videos are only shown to about 50% of the regular viewers in the first few days. And then after the first 3 days, it does push it out a little bit more, but because it's no longer news, it's old, no one's interested. So I appreciate everyone clicking the like button. That really helps. And going forward, I'm only publishing the full daily news videos on this channel, not on the old channel anymore. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. Otherwise, YouTube may stop showing you these videos completely. Subscribing sends YouTube a strong signal that this is a channel you want to watch.